Okay, Greg Kelton from The Advertiser.
Mr. Rann, trust has emerged as a significant issue in this election. Is the Chantilly issue a factor in your being outrated by Ms Redmond as being more trustworthy?
I hope that people will trust me to keep delivering jobs growth. I hope they'll trust me and my team, which is a united team, to keep the state moving ahead. I hope they will trust us to keep delivering on health and education and all the things that are important to us. But, you know, obviously this has been a very, very difficult issue for me and for my family. And so my position, of course, is that if my friendship before I was married has caused any distress to anyone, including Miss Chantilly or her family, then I regret that and I apologise for that. But I have a really, really happy marriage, and these are about personal matters, and my wife has been unwavering in her support for me. And so what we've seen is, following my assault, a series of allegations against me, some of which have been totally outrageous. But if my friendship before I was married has caused distress to people and has disappointed people in South Australia, then I apologise for that.
Ms Redmond.
Can I say that very clearly all along I've said I will not make any comment in relation to any personal matters concerning Mike Rann. That said, I think the issue of trust is going to be important in this election because it's a matter of whether we can trust a Premier who says he's delivered on the issue of jobs, for instance, when in fact our share of the national economic pie has gone down from 6.8% down to 6.5% under the reign of this government. If we had kept up with the national average in jobs growth, we would indeed have 19,000 more jobs now than we had at the moment. When Mike Rann talks about introducing more jobs, he talked about 100,000, and what he's really delivering is very few.
Okay, time's up for that reply. Greg Kelton.
Ms Redmond, Mr Rann has given jobs to at least 3 former Liberal premiers and also several former Liberal senior ministers. If you're elected as Premier on March 20, would you give Mike Rann a job? If not, why not?
Look, I don't actually like very much the idea of giving former premiers jobs unless they have a specific talent that I believe that they can bring to the office that's being sought. I actually think that we need to be very open and accountable in the appointments we make. It's one of the reasons we want to have an independent commission against corruption, and I certainly support having lobbyist legislation and so on. So I believe in clean, open government, and unless Mike Rann was the right person for a job in a particular role, then no, I wouldn't consider it.
Mr Rann.
I think Dean Brown has done a fantastic job on the River Murray as one of our key advisors on dealing with the drought. And, you know, I guess that's the difference. We're putting state before party. I've had, of course, the National Party leader, Carleen Maywald, is part of our government. She's feisty and independent and fights hard for the Riverland and for the River Murray, but she doesn't come from the Labor Party, and I think we're a stronger government. We're a stronger government for having an independent like Rory McEwen sitting around the cabinet table. What we've shown is that we want all of our state to move ahead, and we're a government for all of the people of this state, not just those who voted Labor.
OK then, a questioner now is ABC Radio's Matt Abraham.
Ms Redmond, your party has a poisonous history with leaders, including premiers. It dumped its most successful leader, Dean Brown, just over a year into his job as Premier. It dumped and tore down its most courageous leader, John Olsen, who effectively wiped out state debt in South Australia. How can people trust that your party won't tear you down if you're elected Premier?
Well, I'm very confident that the people of this state can see that this party is united under me and that they are moving forward under me as a united team. One of the things to be said about this is the thing that isn't ever raised, and that is that Mike Rann has been the leader of the Labor Party for 15 years and the Premier for 8 because there's no one else in the Labor Party who can take on that role.
You're saying you've got lots of leaders. You've got lots of people who can take the job.
In the Liberal Party, we pride ourselves on coming from a variety of backgrounds. We are not simply party hacks or trade unionists who've become members of Parliament. We have bankers, we have farmers, we have lawyers, we have all sorts of people who've largely been out there in the community for a long time, earning a living and being involved in their communities. And it's that background that fits so many people. So it's the depth of talent, I think, rather than a problem for us that we've had, the number of leaders that we've had. We have a strong record, and as you say, John Olsen delivered from this state from the virtual edge of bankruptcy.
Okay, Mr. Rann.
Well, I just think I've faced 6 different Liberal leaders, and there have been 4 leaders of the opposition, Liberal leaders, in the past 4 years alone. And the previous Liberal government was so consumed about undermining each other and fighting amongst each other that they forgot that the job was to fight for South Australia. So I think that this has been, almost a generational issue for the South Australian Liberal Party. It's like a revolving door where they spend so much of their time fighting amongst each other that they've forgotten what they're actually elected to do, which is to fight for South Australians.
Matt Abraham.
Premier, Mr. Rann, did you drop the ball on the drought? Was your government the last to realise that we were running out of water? You had a minister who broke his own water restrictions and had to be removed. You had another minister saying building a new reservoir wouldn't increase our water capacity. You had another minister saying we didn't need a desal plant. Have you dropped the ball? And will your legacy be dried gardens and plastic lawns?
Well, look, what we've done is lead the charge on the River Murray. It was South Australia that put it on the national agenda, because for years we've had a River Murray that's been run as 4 different rivers, massive over-allocation over 100 years. Of the water taken out of the River Murray, 93% taken out by the upstream states. So we led the charge, and in 2011, all of the River Murray be run as a river without borders by an independent commission that will govern the whole basin.
Except for Victoria,
on the
which is what, 2018?
On the basis of science, not on the basis of political interest. And on the issue, so each of those states have handed over their constitutional powers, and we are taking the Victorian Labor government all the way to the High Court, because there's one remaining obstacle, and that's their artificial ban on trading at 4%. So the other thing is that we're constructing a huge desalination plant, $1.7 billion, that is totally powered by renewable energy, and that it guarantees our water security for the future. It's our insurance policy. And we've also led the nation in water recycling, led the nation in the use of stormwater, but that's for gardens and industrial uses, not to go against the advice of the health experts and put it into the water supply.
Ms. Redmond.
Can I just put that into perspective? First of all, the desalination plant was first proposed by the Liberals, although we proposed only a small one, which would have cost a lot less and been powered with a lot less. We're leading the way on stormwater because the government are stormwater sceptics. They don't believe, as is done all around the world, that you can take stormwater and convert it into clean, safe drinking water. That's part of our proposal. We also wanted to make it so that you can actually plumb your house to use grey water, and we know that you can do that elsewhere, but this government opposed that proposal as well.
Okay then, I'd like to put some questions, or at least one question that's come through. We've been canvassing for questions from our viewers, and many have been to do with traffic congestion. I'd like to put this question, if I can. It comes from Colin Holmes of Evanston Park to Ms. Redmond. When is the government, presumably a government under you, going to, as I'm putting it to you first, going to upgrade Main North Road? It is full of red lights and bottlenecks. It should be a 3-lane highway from Jepps Cross to Gawler.
Look, one of the interesting things about this government is that they came into an election with no traffic plan and no transport plan at the last election, and indeed I think that the election before. We know that there are major issues about our roads that we need to address. We can't address them all at once, but this government has actually had us $200 million behind in the maintenance of our roads, and that is a major issue for the security of our drivers around the state. Certainly Main North Road is one of the roads that needs work, but there's not really a lot of capacity to widen it where it stands. What we need to do is concentrate, I think, on taking other areas so that we create true ring roads around our city.
On this question, we're giving you each a minute to reply. Mr. Rann.
Well, just look at the figures. So the biggest road investment, the biggest rail investment in the state's history under this government. I mean, $600 million for the Northern Expressway, $800 million in a joint program with the Commonwealth for the South Road Superway. The Gallipoli underpass, the tram overpass, the duplication of the Southern Expressway, which is our next big item on the agenda, on a road that should never have been one way in the first place. So there has never been a bigger investment in road infrastructure. In fact, infrastructure alone is 5 times bigger investment in the future than occurred under the previous Liberal government, including much, much more on road maintenance.